what we're going to do is we're going to cover what happened on Tuesday with Tiffany Henyard. I think she absolutely sabotaged a Thorton Township meeting so that she could move that meeting where she's talking about the budget to Friday, tomorrow, 1:00 in the afternoon. All those folks who have to work, working people. So many of you are watching this, listening to this at work while you're doing work. Let's not forget, people are working, people are doing stuff. And, but you know what they're not doing? They're not typically going to their township board meeting at 1:00 in the afternoon. So this whole thing, if you haven't been following this story, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to cover kind of just that last segment last Tuesday, what happened there, the whole meeting. They sat through 53 minutes of nothing going on. And then Tiffany Henyard cancels it. I'm sorry. We'll see video on that. And then we're going to go through some of the sources that I've been doing a deep dive on with Tiffany Henyard. And I've been doing a deep dive since Memorial Day, since last Monday. I've been watching 4 or 5 hours of video a day, and I still haven't covered all of the stories that are going on in this village of Dolton and township of Thornton. It is absolutely shocking, the level of alleged corruption and just the outright the outright balls on this mayor, for lack of a better term, for lack of a better way to describe that. I know it's not pretty, but she just goes in, and she is continuing to go in. She's, journalist has gone there, and let's get going here. All right. I'm going to first video we're going to play is we're going to go with, this is from the Lansing Journal. Lansing Journal is the unsung hero of this story between Dane Placco of Chicago 32 Fox and the Lansing Journal. That's where I've kind of put together all these pieces. The Lansing Journal has some amazing coverage. Give them a like. Here we go. This was the last meeting. Cheers. Tiff Tiff. Tahoe Tiff. The super mayor. Okay, so check this out. She whispers in her ear. That's not a good look right there. That's not a good look. Look at that face right there. Oh my gosh. Oh, yeah, that's that look, right? Watch this. Are you kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? This is the guy that nominated her to be supervisor of the township. He is regretting that decision. At the time, he thought it was a good one.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you guys for coming out this evening. I am Supervisor Tiffany Henyard, the People Supervisor. I want to thank you for coming out to hear from the department heads, the finance department as relates to the budget. But unfortunately, we will have to postpone our meeting until Friday at 1 p.m. due to the fact of lack of quorum. So I came down to tell you guys this. So I will see you guys Friday at 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for coming out.
Zero explanation. Just boom. Done. Quorum. Lack of quorum. So they've got a township where you've got 5 positions. So you got to have 3 of those at this meeting. They didn't even do a roll call for this. It's like, do you just look around and go, there's nobody here? Yeah, that's what they did. We're moving this meeting to Friday because this was a 6 o'clock meeting. It went, she came up at about, I think it was like 6:53, made everybody wait an hour. And yeah, I mean, what is that all about? I mean, this is some real nonsense. This is some shenanigans. That's a good camera angle. That's good videography right there. She is just up there with a you-know-what eating grin. I mean, she is just, so bad. Okay, here's the residents getting muted.
All right, thank you guys for coming. If you will please exit, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
If you guys could just get the F out and leave me alone, that's what we're doing. So watch over here. Going to jail. Tiff, tiff. Here we go. Right here. The whole thing is just, it is so wild. All right. So Tiffany Henyard cancels Thornton Township budget hearings after hour-long wait. Here we are again back at the Lansing Journal, and it was 53 minutes. And I think it was like there was 50 people at the meeting. That's what I gathered from this one. From this article here, Friday is the legal deadline. According to Illinois municipal budget law, a public body like Thornton Township shall within or for the first quarter of each fiscal year adopt a combined annual budget and appropriation ordinance, making Friday the 31st, May the 31st, the last day that a budget can legally be approved. So according to her, the meeting will take place tomorrow at 1:00. So that's 11:00 my time. We're going to live stream that. So that is already up on the channel. Hit the notification bell for that bad boy, because we're going to live stream that. Keep in mind, the majority of these meetings tend to start, they're like Axl Rose, Guns N' Roses starts. You know that reference from the 90s. That's when Axl was just he showed up on whenever he wanted. He showed up on Rockstar time. Tiffany Henyard, same deal. She's a rock star. She shows up whenever she wants. And it's oftentimes about an hour after. So we have to live stream. I'm going to have some other content go, and we're going to talk about just the ridiculousness that is all of this. And we'll see what happens, because you don't know. That's the beauty of Tiff Tiff, of Super Mayor Tiff Tiff. It's wild. You don't know what the ride's going to be. All right, here's another clip from NBC, I believe this is. NBC, also another strong player in the coverage on this topic. NBC Chicago, of all things. They've been going in.
185,000 residents.
I got all of my paperwork, collected everything, and I'm sitting here ready.
But the budget is the main thing, the reason why I came. Right. For the budget.
Tony Richardson and many others at the meeting have been calling for more transparency. They were hoping to ask questions about the proposed spending plan. They also say they have concerns about Tiffany Henyard. She's the township supervisor and also the mayor of Dolton. Henyard is the focus of a federal criminal investigation and numerous lawsuits by business owners and employees, current and former.
Plenty of red flags. And I can speak so much on the lawsuits and what it does to us as residents from Dolton to the rest of the Thorton Township.
Everybody is fed up. They've let things get too far.
Christopher Gonzalez is a township trustee.
A lot of lack of communication and just, I don't know.
That Christopher Gonzalez is the one that originally nominated her. They were trying to work somebody out. Oh, hey, she's young. Oh, she's black. Oh, and she's a woman. Let's nominate her. They had a guy that had been in office for 13 terms before the prior supervisor. That's why Tiffany Henyard is making so much money. She took over his position, meaning she took over his contract as well. She is making damn near $276,000 right now between her combined two salaries. She's mayor of Dolton and she's supervisor of the trustees of the village of Thornton. Village of Thornton's about 176,000 people, something like that. And the village of Dolton is 22,000 people. So she's making some big money. And the whole reason that people are really worked up about the budget is she's going to give herself a raise. She's going to give the supervisors a raise, and she's just blowing up the budget, and their revenue is going down. Thornton Township's revenue is going down. Meanwhile, Tiff is off at mayor's conventions to go into Vegas, and some of this stuff she's paying with Thornton Township's credit cards for mayor events, which is a totally different city. It's a city within the township, but yeah, she's commingling funds. She's got so much going on.
I hate to say, but incompetent.
Gonzalez says he was told Tuesday's meeting was canceled and rescheduled for Friday afternoon because the board didn't have a quorum.
They were here. They were waiting. They wanted to get their voices heard. It's not right.
We reached out to Tiffany Henyard's administration, but didn't hear back before our story aired.
We just need to
Shocking.
get some changes made here as far as just moving forward and getting some transparency, getting some questions answered.
And again, that Board of Trustees meeting will now take place this Friday at 1 o'clock at Thornton Township offices. Regina Waldrop, NBC5 News.
Our thanks to Regina.
She's been the reporter for NBC that's done a pretty bang up job. All right, let's move on to Hannibal is Hungry. It's another up and coming YouTube star. Give him a like, give him a subscribe. I've followed a lot of his stuff. I think he has some thoughtful input, and he's watched a lot of this content. He's followed this for longer than I have. So let's see.
Guys, Friday at 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for coming out.
Same meeting.
The crowd about to throw tomatoes.
And that's exactly what the super mayor did. She found a way to reschedule the meeting for Friday at 1 p.m. A very clever move, but also very transparent move that she is trying to avoid any kind of scrutiny, any kind of publicity by trying to slide this in on a Friday at 1 p.m., which is what people do when you're trying to bury news stories. You try to bury a news story by having it published on.
If you are, say the Biden administration, and you've got a story that you need to get out there, when do you put it out? Yeah, Friday, right? Because people are hustling into their weekend. What's that? What kind of corruption was that? What was going on? Who cares? Let's go out to dinner. Let's go do drinks. Let's go do whatever. Yeah, we'll work on that on Monday, right? And then by the time Monday comes, the news cycle just kind of clips past and moves on. So Friday afternoon at 1 o'clock. Yeah.
Fridays, because most people are not paying attention. They're trying to look forward to the weekend. They're planning their weekends. They're not really caring about what's going on. Most people have to work. Most people have things to do. At 1 p.m. is not even a time when most people be out of work. It's a very clever move because she wants to sneak in this raise without much resistance. And she was able to pull this off because some of the trustees didn't show up.
They're missing. Carmen Carlisle is missing. Darlene Everett Gray is missing. And who else is missing? Jerry John. So we got 3 trustees missing.
Probably on purpose. At this point, she has a rubber.
Was it on purpose? Well, if they didn't have the lack of quorum, they didn't have, minimum of 3 of their supervisors there. If they had that, then meeting on. So who took the fall here? Hey, would you mind not showing up to today's meeting? That'd be great. And then we can reschedule and there'll be less people and maybe we can slide that raise on through.
Stamp vote anyway. The only person that gives her the dissenting vote is Chris Gonzalez, but she doesn't want more bad publicity. So I think this is what she wanted to do. Put it at a time that most people are not going to be able to attend there. The people can apply pressure, even though that, like I said before, she does have a rubber stamp vote because all the other trustees vote with her anything that she wants. A big difference compared to her being a mayor of Dolton, where she doesn't have that privilege. The problem is this looks bad anyway. While the average person is barely able to survive on what they get, she wants to give herself more money when she is already making over $250,000. It doesn't look great. So of course, despite that, most people are suffering. Inflation is out of control. People can barely afford groceries. Of course, if they had the ability to vote for a raise, they would themselves. So a politician is no different, despite the fact that Tiffany Henyard is making, like I said, over $250,000 a year. She took that salary over Frank Zuccarelli, the late Thorton Township supervisor. And despite the fact—
All right, so this is footage, and this is why we're going to watch some clip from this video on here in a little bit. So the Fox 32, so many clips that you'll see on this storyline are from Dane Placco because of the original stories that he got going. There was like, what's going on here? He just bird dogged this story. And so many of the references are to kind of this video. It's about a 32-minute video. And that's what we're going to check out in a second.
The fact that he had that salary for being there for a number of years, decades. Henyard only been there for a few years, and she's already receiving the top salary for her position. And the problem is when you don't have enough trustees, you can't have a quorum, you can't have a meeting. And it just seems like it was a tactical move by Tiffany A. Henyard to avoid all of the scrutiny. I think she did that to avoid all of the craziness that happened at the annual Thornton Township meeting. If you guys remember, the lack of respect she has for the residents is not surprising, but sad. The fact that she had those people wait to show up late to tell people the meeting is over. There is no meeting, must be rescheduled. Shows that she really don't really.
I want to watch this. She knows exactly who is at the meeting. She knows who the cameras are. She knows. She takes in all of this. She is super calculated in everything she does. Watch her look right at the camera, and she's like, okay.
Show up late to tell people the meeting is over.
Right.
There is no meeting, must be rescheduled.
There.
Shows that she really don't really give a damn about these residents. She doesn't want the bad publicity, but I think it's possible that she will be surprised on Friday at 1 p.m. That is just my feeling, that people will still show up because it's their money. It's the taxpayers' money. And this is the budget that needs to be talked about. There's a lot of questions about this budget that the people deserve some answers to. So why the total expenditures doubling, rising for approximately 20 million to $39 million? Why there's such a massive increase in salaries? Why was the public engagement period from February to April ignored? Why does it appear that the administration rushed this process, limiting the public input and scrutiny?
So there's been virtually no discussions about this budget that we're going to live stream tomorrow. There's been no discussions since February. I mean, February. I mean, you know the math. February, March, April, May, June. I mean, yeah, no discussions then. Let's just zip this bad boy in right at the tail end. We'll hammer it down. We'll get this vote, and we'll just, screw the voters. They're just paying all the taxes. They're paying all the bills here. We don't need them. We're just gonna put this on through. We're gonna shove it down their throat, and that's what they're doing.
And despite having the highest property taxes in Illinois, why does the budget project a decrease in property tax revenue? How does the administration justify doubling spending under these conditions? Why are the travel expenses for the administration budgeted at $280,000, an increase from the previous year's expenditure of $273,000? Why other areas face cuts? Many
excellent questions, and she has taken some strong trips, right? Vegas trip. I don't remember if the Vegas trip was a village of Dolton. So much of this just gets, was it Dolton? Was it Thornton? Which credit card did she use? You don't know. You don't know whether she's coming or going.
Many questions and more should be asked, and the pressure should be put on the trustees and the supervisor to answer these questions. So I hope people show up on Friday, but it's understandable that people have to work. People have other responsibilities. This was just a way to avoid as much scrutiny as possible so they could rubber stamp this budget and the super mayor can go about her day making even more money. But mind you, she's already making over $250,000. So we'll see what happens on Friday. I just want to drop a real quick video for you guys.
Yeah, that's nutty, isn't it? I mean, the whole thing is just, it is fantastic. And like I said, I've been doing the deep dive for a long time now. And let's talk about this one for a second. So this is, if you want, the Tiffany Henyard timeline, how did Thornton Township So these are the two journalists from the Lansing Journal, and they do a deep dive. If you want kind of the facts of Thornton Township, this is the video to watch. That's what I kind of started with, because I was looking around going, man, there are so many storylines here that I don't know, and I'm just picking up on now. Let me throw one out there. Like, there was a no bid contract, $500,000 a month was being spent on tree trimming. And then there was talks of those exact same trees being cut down. It's like, okay, so we're going to go through all this work of just beautifying these trees, and then we're going to whack them. And, it was done by a contractor that was, within this inner circle. The police force of Dolton and the supervisor police force, they are in her pocket, to say the least. I mean, it is shocking when you see the abuse of power that is going on here. I mean, one of the residents, I think it was of Dolton, just straight out came out and said, yeah, she dresses like a guy from I'm forgetting the name of the movie right now, but it was Nino Brown, and he is the guy from the Wesley Snipes movie, and just literally gangster style. And speaking of that, let's kick it off. Here is our live stream that we're going to do tomorrow. I don't know what that's going to look like. I have no idea, if the meeting's going to happen, but we're going to live stream it. I will probably use the Lansing Journal's feed. They've got a pretty good feed. It seems like there's a bunch of other YouTubers that are going to cover it too. But, with an FBI investigation, this is already spicy, and this is only going to get better. It's not like this is going away. You've got commingling of funds. You've got a sexual assault case that you're like, what in the heck happened there? You're paying for trips. You're going to here. They went to Portland. What are they doing in Portland? They were doing some kind of Bible meeting in Portland, right? It had nothing to do with the mayor's, operation of running a town. It was, she's still going over there for some Christian lady, whatever it was. Just absolutely nutty. So make sure you tune in tomorrow if this is a story that you're enjoying, and I'll be right there. That could go for hours, and I'm in it to win it. So we'll see how long it goes. We'll see if it starts. We'll see if it even goes, because there was a bunch of streamers that on Tuesday were running that meeting. I mean, how disappointing. Okay. Yeah. An hour in, nothing's going on, folks. Goodbye. This is kind of the original documentary here. We're going to look through some clips on here, because this is like the foundation of the shenanigans that kind of unwound a lot of this, the whole story. And it is some fantastic the storylines you just literally can't make up, and you're watching it thinking, this can't be real. There's no way this can be real. I mean, Seattle's got issues with its police department, but nothing like the ridiculousness that we see here.
And the never-ending allegations that she's used and abused her two offices at Dolton and Thornton Township for pricey security details, trips to Vegas, unmissable highway billboards,
Fox 32,
and the curious donation of township tax dollars to a cancer charity named for, you guessed it, Mayor Henyard.
Nobody knows something.
There she is.
Nobody knows nothing.
Tiffany Henyard certainly isn't shy about attracting attention. Here she is standing at Dolton Village Board meeting, dressed like the Wesley Snipes character in the movie New Jack City. Later punctuating her political points with the help of her own DJ.
Every single resident. Pay me what you owe me.
First time I saw that, I thought, what? Are you joking? You are telling the constituents who literally pay your bills through their taxes to pay you, the mayor, what they owe you. I mean, just the mindset here is phenomenal. New Jack City, Nino Brown. I mean, that's what we're doing, right? Can't believe I couldn't remember that movie. I love that movie.
Thank you, DJ.
Henyard's picture and name adorn virtually every public posting, both from Dolton, where as mayor she makes $46,000 a year, and in Thorton Township, where as the elected supervisor she collects more than $200,000 a year. But for all that money, Henyard's tenure at both has been chaotic, with firings, scandals, and a legal battle with the Dolton trustees over spending. So last fall, Henyard did something that would seemingly generate some good publicity, helping establish the Tiffany Henyard Cares Foundation to help breast cancer patients. And on the very day the charity was chartered, it received a huge donation, $10,000, from the Thornton Township Board, which Henyard presides over.
Taxpayer money shouldn't be paid into those types of things.
Stephanie Wiedemann is the former Thornton Township Chief of Staff, whom Henyard fired shortly after taking over in March of last year.
It almost felt like a takeover, and a very aggressive one at that.
Since her firing, Wiedemann has been documenting township spending and says she's stunned by the taxpayer dollars funneled into Henyard's charity, especially this.
We got 10 days. We're going 196 miles.
Last October, Henyard led a delegation of Dolton and Thornton Township employees and political supporters on a march to Springfield to promote her breast cancer charity, which she documented on her Facebook page.
We're walking through Dolton. All right, we're in Brightwood now. We are in Godly now. We in Bloomington, baby.
I can pretty much map out their entire Springfield trip on the township credit cards.
That's right. Henyard billed.
Keep in mind, this is her own personal charity, right? This has nothing to do with the township. This has nothing to do with the village. This is just a charity that she set up, and she dumped $10K in right at the get-go from the township, which she's a supervisor. I mean, if you're gonna commit this kind of fraud, if you're gonna commit this kind of commingling, at least bring somebody in to tell you how to do it, because this ain't the way. This is just inviting the FBI, which they are doing, to, hey, we'd like to take a little look-see at your books. You know what I mean? I mean, that is, it's no wonder that the FBI they've come in, and a lot of people have said, well, there must be so many charges because of what they're looking for. The FBI goes in, and in these situations, they look at the same thing time and time and time again. It's all the digital footprint of everything going on. And, it's like a divorce. Opposing attorney asks your attorney, all right, we're going to need to see the books of your company. We're going to need to see your payroll. We're going to need to see this. We're going to need to see the partridge in a pear tree, right? And that's how you create the forensic accounting of what's going on. So what's happening with Dolton and with the Thornton Township? That's just what happens when you've got shenanigans going on. And that's how the FBI does. Any law enforcement agency does a deep dive. They're going to go after the same stuff time and time and time again, because, interviewing Jim, the store clerk at 7-Eleven, what's that going to do? Right? Exactly. What is that going to do? Nothing. So they go after the hard and true facts of, all right, let's see what this money looks like. And from my perspective, she has just, she didn't cook the books. She just destroyed them.
Thousands of dollars in hotel rooms and meals during the trip to Thornton Township and Dolton credit cards. In addition, the videos show Henyard used multiple village and township vehicles owned by taxpayers to escort the caravan, including a flatbed trailer with a photographer, flying a drone, and a DJ.
We got our mayor right here coming from Dolton, Illinois, walking all the way to Springfield. That'll make some noise for our mayor, the people's mayor.
But they didn't always walk.
We on motorbikes, baby.
At times, riding electric bikes.
That's Uncle Drew. That's Uncle Drew right there.
Township supervisor.
It looks like a misspending of tax funds. I think that's the biggest concern.
This guy has a banking background. He has a finance background. And all you'll ever hear him say is, we need some transparency up in here. This looks terrible. Because from a financial standpoint, these books are so done.
Dolton trustee Jason House has been doing battle with the mayor since she took office.
Very disturbing to hear these things or to kind of see some of the receipts that appear to be connected to it. And I think the taxpayers really deserve better than that.
And then there's the merch.
It's a shirt. One of the t-shirts.
Along the way, Henyard sold and gave away t-shirts and hoodies, also available on her charity's website. A week before the trip, the township paid $17,000 for specially printed hoodies and t-shirts, but won't say what they're for.
I think that everything she has initiated has been something to promote her, something to get her name in household, something to get people to buy into voting for her.
Our investigation found at least $11,000 in public funds spent on that trip. But both Dolton and Thornton Township have been slow or unresponsive to open records requests. So what was the purpose of the 10-day march to Springfield?
I have created a bill, which we're going to speak before the Revenue Committee, to give everybody $5,000 on their income tax when they file if you are suffering from cancer.
A noble goal, except the Revenue Committee wasn't meeting when the group arrived in Springfield. Henyard did later testify at a committee hearing in Chicago, but so far nothing has come of her bill.
I think I'm doing a damn good job on leave.
So we went to a recent Thornton Township board meeting to ask Henyard some questions about all that spending.
This is where it starts to get spicy from this meeting on.
Can you guys reach out to us?
Look at this guy. This guy in multiple meetings, he's basically sitting there and he knows he's got somebody that's, in my feeling, he's trying to protect her. He's grabbing her arm. He's kind of trying to get her to back down a little bit. Hey, let's reel it in. But he doesn't seem to be effective. He whole thing is just so bizarre, right?
And ask us our opinion before you post it. I would appreciate it.
And so we did.
I want to ask you a few questions.
Okay.
But Henyard wasn't anxious to talk about her charity.
Why did you and the board vote to give your foundation $10,000?
I'm the face.
Look at this woman here. Watch this woman. She's like, he's asking hard questions. This isn't going to go well. Tiff, what are you going to say?
Of the foundation. My name is nowhere, sir. I'm the face.
You're the face. What was the purpose of going to Springfield?
Thank you, guys. Hey, she doesn't have any more comments,
No,
guys.
we're going to talk.
She doesn't have any more comments. Thanks, guys.
That's Keith Freeman, whom Henyard hired at both Dolton and Thornton Township and was part of her Springfield walk.
He's a big dude.
Keith, baby.
He's a big dude.
Freeman also filed paperwork for the charity bearing Henyard's name.
Why are you using public money for your personal charity?
$17,000 for insurance. Why?
Thank you.
And with that, her security detail hustled Henyard upstairs and blocked the staircase with a table. So we tried asking another employee who went on that trip.
You went down to Springfield.
Watch this.
What were you hoping to do
You
in
need
Springfield?
to ask the people that handles that. I'm not the one that handled it. I was just riding the bike.
We need more officers on the streets.
That's the guy that's always grabbing her arm. I was just riding a bike. Don't blame me. Don't ask me a damn thing. I was just riding a bike. I don't want any of this nonsense going on here. I was just riding my bike. Okay. Yeah, but you're grabbing the super mayor's arm and you're sitting next to her. So you know something, right?
We need our streets repaved. So to spend that kind of money on a charitable event or supposed charitable event really doesn't seem like the best use of tax dollars.
No. Take a drive to the south suburbs and you can't miss them. 4 giant billboards featuring Tiffany Henyard's name in large letters, along with her picture, smiling down on the thousands of cars going by on Interstate 57 and the Bishop Ford Expressway. What are they advertising? One says fresh produce, another senior services, and this one simply says
she has spent somewhere like 10 grand and another 12 grand in rental. I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars for what is effectively marketing for her political career. It's branding her. What I will give Tiffany Henyard is that she is really good at branding, at self-branding. She's got her name on everything. She has got her name on the buildings. I mean, in big, big letters. You're like, okay, this is definitely Tiffany Henyard's land. Billboards. I mean, you name it. And then when somebody hits her up, like Dan Blacko hits her up with, "Hey, what about your charity?" "Oh, that's not my charity. I'm just the face of the charity." And you're like, "What?"
We offer general assistance. There's a phone to Henyard in Dolton. Says it's clear the billboards are and you can't turn your head in Dolton or Thornton Township without seeing Henyard's picture or name. It's on all the government-owned vehicles, buildings, even on the rugs in the township, where we found a Tiffany Henyard 2024 calendar featuring all the important dates to remember, including her birthday.
I would be having a fit if she was my client, telling her not to do this.
Veteran Chicago political consultant Delmarie Cobb says there would be nothing wrong if Henyard were using her own political funds for those promotional materials, especially the billboards.
I actually had a candidate years ago who was running for mayor of Dolton, and that's what we did. We bought billboards along the expressway, because if you're coming and going home all day, and one of the things I always say about billboards is they're working when you're asleep.
In 2011, state law herself, we see her being, why all the cops?
We weren't opposed to her having the security detail. We asked how long and how often.
Dolton trustee Brittany Norwood says Henyard began assembling her detail shortly after being elected in 2021, using hand-picked Dolton police officers. Using a Freedom of Information request, we obtained the work records for 6 of the officers assigned to Henyard's security detail at various times, and showed them to some of Dolton's trustees.
This is a Freedom of Information request we did to see how much overtime these officers are making on her security detail.
Oh, wow. 162 hours.
162. Oh, that's nothing. What goes through your mind when you see these numbers?
It's disappointing. It's frustrating.
The officers are paid every 2 weeks, which without overtime is 80 hours. But when they're put on Henyard's detail, that 80 hours balloons to well over 100 hours, sometimes 200 hours. And in the case of Officer Terry Young last May, 303 hours worked over a 2-week period.
That is the famous number right there. Not all these cops worked 303 hours, but it worked out that he was working 22 hours for 14 straight days. 22 hours a day, 14 straight days. Yeah. I was just riding a bike. That should be on a t-shirt. I was just riding a bike. I mean, don't blame me. I was just riding a bike. The whole thing. I mean, all right. So 303 hours. Yeah, that's not going to look good. I mean, did she think that she was going to get away with all this? I think she does not care. I think she is just like Nino Brown and thought she was literally, above the law, above everything, because everything that she does, and I've had so many people comment on the videos that I've done, she's untouchable. She's untouchable. She is protected from up on high. And you're like, okay, all right, well, the FBI, they might be doing a little investigation here. We'll have to see how high she is protected, right? So the 303, when you hear that, not all of them were 303, but when you hit 303 in a 2-week pay period, yeah, it doesn't look good, right? The optics of so much of this are terrible, awful. Taking a trip to Vegas and one of your sidekicks has sex with one of your employees. And then he calls a cop who's on the payroll on the trip, and just this big, huge mess. And there's those, and Tiffany Henyard tries to cover it up. There's one after another, after another, after another. And this is all in a couple of years' time. I mean, it's astounding.
That resulted in a single paycheck of more than $13,000.
How does a person put in a 2-week pay period, 303 hours? That's impossible. That's impossible.
336
Does he never go to sleep?
In fact, there are 336 hours total in 2 weeks, meaning Young was not being paid for only 33 hours over that period. Other officers on the security detail are also racking up overtime paychecks in the multiple thousands of dollars.
Mayor, mind if I ask you a couple questions about your security detail?
Absolutely not.
I'm asking her.
Yeah, she said no.
A couple weeks ago, we tried to question Henyard about her detail as she went door to door in Dolton giving out water on a 100-degree day.
All right, so how expensive is that detail? Handing out bottles of water. right? I mean, how many people does she have? She's got just she's got a squadron that goes around with her. This security detail goes on the road with her. They fly with her. You know what I mean? She's literally thinks in her mind, I'm a thug. This is thuggery. This is thuggery style. This is what we're doing.
Surrounded by police, firefighters, public works employees, and 2 videographers documenting for Dolton's Facebook page.
I want to tell the people I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going. I hope they post what we actually do here in the village of Dolton and stop telling lies.
But when we gave her an opportunity to explain the OT,
Mayor, why do you need so many officers, details, or your security?
What did you say, water? It sounded like you said water.
earlier that day, we watched as a Dolton cop drove Henyard from her other job at Thorton Township to a Mexican restaurant for lunch. Trustees say the security detail picks the mayor up at her home in the morning and is with her until she's dropped off at night, often taking her on board's approval.
I see no justification whatsoever, and more than
for political enemies.
And our contention is that it is illegal.
Did he do anything wrong?
No. Chief Collins, any position that he's ever been in is a policeman's policeman. He held the rank of chief, but he's a patrolman at heart.
Police
it's
chief,
frustrating to see the officers used like that. I'm sure the officers are frustrated too, but they following orders.
As the attention on Henyard heated up, Dolton Village Hall and Thornton Township headquarters became the stage for an evolving soap opera. Village trustees started going rogue. Employees got locked out of their offices, and it became harder for the public and press to attend meetings, including one to vote on the mayor's salary that we learned included a poison pill provision that made any potential challenger think twice about running against Henyard. Did you know about this beforehand?
No, absolutely not. No word was given to myself.
Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez was just sitting down at the start of the township's board meeting 2 weeks ago when he was handed a 7-page proposed ordinance requiring an immediate vote.
You had no time to read.
No, and then we get pretty much into the meeting pretty quick.
What it does is to ensure that Henyard continues to receive her $224,000 a year salary as township supervisor. But if a non-incumbent becomes supervisor, in other words, if someone challenges Henyard and beats her, the salary for that position drops to just $25,000 a year, a pay cut of nearly 90%. Trustee Gonzalez says it's a political poison pill to scare off competition.
Discourage people from running is probably...
What attorney drew that up? All right, let's see. You want me to write up that if you don't win and another incumbent wins, that the salary basically drops, to a tenth of what you're talking about? All right, let me just crank that down on my laptop here. I'm sure this is legal. I mean, how illegal is that? Yeah.
Probably the first thing that comes to mind.
Is this legal?
No, it's so illegal in so many ways.
Municipal Attorney Bert Odelson, who represents Henyard's political opposition in Dolton, says under equal protection of the law, the salaries of elected officials have to be identity blind, meaning they don't change based on the person holding the job.
It's maybe the worst attempt to try to dissuade people from running that I've ever seen, and that's a long time.
Henyard isn't facing re-election until 2025, but already potential competitors are circling despite the drastically lower salary, including State Senator Napoleon Harris. But if Henyard is re-elected, she'll continue making the $224K, even if she seems to believe the job is worth a fraction of that.
You think this is a job that should pay over $200,000 or $25,000?
I mean, probably somewhere in the middle, in all honesty.
So this is the assessor's office.
Cassandra Elston has been the assessor here in Thornton Township for the past 10 years.
We've just got nugget after nugget after nugget. And these are the broad scope stories that Dan Placco has uncovered. There are all kinds of stories and there's all kinds of videos that I've been diligently watching so that I can report back to you. Just the amount of shenanigans going on, it's absolutely phenomenal.
Position that helps residents deal with exemptions and property tax appeals. But when she arrived at work this morning, something strange happened.
The assessor.
Yes.
It's a city
assessor.
What happened when
you tried to open it?
He doesn't work.
Not only had Elston been locked out of her own office, but boxes of sensitive documents that she kept in her office were spread around the common area.
This was under lock and key before.
This was under lock and key.
And now it's just out in the open?
Now it's just out in the open. So it has the taxpayer's name, address.
So who did this to you?
Well, I imagine this new supervisor, Tiffany Henyard.
Elston has been critical of Henyard's spending at the township and believes getting kicked out is political payback.
But this is not going to stop me. This is my job. This is what I get paid to do.
She's the assessor. She invited us inside.
Okay. And that's when township security officers stepped in.
Okay. So you're refusing to leave? Yes.
South Holland police were called to the scene, and they agreed with us that the assessor had every right to invite us into her office.
The news crew is here to do an interview on me.
Does Tiffany Henyard have any right to do this?
Not only Tiffany Henyard, but nobody has any right to do this to a separate elected official like the assessor.
The assessor's lawyer, Bert Odelson, tells me they plan to file a lawsuit in Cook County demanding she get her office back.
It is extremely illegal.
As you can do and say,
let's keep going.
Up sheet for public comment. Never got it. And before they knew what had happened, the 4-minute meeting upstairs was over and Henyard was gone without hearing from her constituents.
They are violating our rights. I pay taxes here. I have a right to get up and speak, whether this administration likes it or not. Meeting.
And not only were the residents shut out, so was a local newspaper reporter who came here to cover the meeting.
I was told by a security guard that
Lansing
I was not allowed upstairs where the boardroom meeting is.
Josh Bootsma of the Lansing Journal says residents deserve to know how elected officials are spending their money.
Thornton Township is the largest township in Illinois. And so there are a lot of people that are affected by the decisions, the financial decisions that this township makes.
Even Thornton Township trustee Chris Gonzalez, a frequent Henyard critic, was ordered out of the boardroom until the meeting began.
Do you think any laws were broken last night by the way they handled it?
Gotta go.
Well, definitely. I mean, if somebody wants to speak, it's a public meeting, it's a public building. They should be able to come in.
With Mayor Henyard now a regular target of criticism, Dolton employees and local business owners started feeling the heat, claiming they faced retaliation when they refused to support the mayor. Even a park permit was revoked for an event that was happening the same day as a music festival managed by, correct again, Mayor Henyard.
Always a good time for everybody that comes out. Fun, exciting, good for the community.
For the past 8 years, Darren Bosley has organized an annual car show here in the parking lot of Needles Park in Dolton. But after paying $1,000 to the Park District for this year's permit, Bosley got an unexpected call last Wednesday from Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard's top
I was just riding a bike.
That the show would be shut down, but if I move my event to her location on Greenwood, that I will be fine.
Did you take that as a threat?
Yes, I took that as bullying.
Sure enough, when Bosley showed up at the park Saturday morning.
Look at these. I mean, you're not moving anything past those. I mean, this woman is so vindictive. So she's got a music festival just down the street. She doesn't want her guy with his car show that he's been, not her guy, but one of her constituents. She doesn't want him to have his show. So she literally just has Parks or Department of Transportation come and drop these enormous concrete barricades, right? Those are monstrous.
Morning, he found that giant concrete barricades had been placed at the entrance, and Dolton police were threatening to tow any cars that parked there.
We talking about two different governments. We're talking about the park government versus the village government.
Dolton Park District President Cleo Jones says Mayor Henyard has no legal authority over Park District property and believes she didn't want the competition to hurt attendance at her own event, a house music festival a few blocks away.
So I'm not sure what her tactics were other than trying to bully us and push us away, but that's not going to happen here.
What would you say to the mayor about this?
Get your life together, get your act together. This is wrong for
because you go into
people
prison.
That spend money with the park district to try to throw an event, a peaceful event, fine event, and it's good for the community, but you're taking that away from everybody.
They just rushed in here, put police at the front of the door like they was doing a raid on the drug house or something.
A team of Dolton police officers raided and shut down Pablo's Bar and Cafe and Rinky's Bar.
So you would think that, so much of this is just made up and it's just keeps on going, right? It's the story that won't quit. Now she's going after business owners who aren't chipping into her campaign. If you're not, it's pay to play in Village of Dolton. And if you're not paying, literally, check this out. Check out this
Bar and cafe, both located on Sibley, about a block apart.
Everything going peacefully. Nothing going on. It's like 10 police cars came in and they start pushing customers from here. And he said, if you don't leave, we're going to lock you up.
Employees and owners say it's part of an ongoing campaign of harassment by Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard that is costing jobs and money. Their business licenses have been stripped by Dolton, but they've continued to operate with a state license.
I have like over 23 employees. They work from the local township. Now, end of the day, all the employees, they're going to lose their job.
It's ridiculous. We all have mouths to feed. We all have kids. They're not giving us no explanation.
On Monday, we visited both Rinky's and Pablo's to ask about allegations their licenses were being held up for political reasons. Then last evening, we broke the story that FBI agents have questioned at least a half dozen people, including business owners, a former Dolton employee, and an elected official as part of an investigation into Mayor Henyard. Less than 2 hours after our story aired, police raided the two bars.
Someone seen you go in there. And then 2 hours after your story airs, that police are at both of these establishments.
Dolton trustee Tammy Brown says she believes the raids are meant to send a warning to others not to talk. And
what would Nino Brown do? He just sent a crew in to shoot up both of those places, right? Rinky's and the other one. They would just level those places, right? She can't quite do that, but she can do the next best thing, which is send in her goon squad of cops.
He believes there's a reason so many Dolton businesses are having trouble getting their licenses renewed.
I'm sure that they were asked to make a donation, and most likely they didn't make a donation.
Dolton residents had enough, and in April, Dolton's trustees voted to open an investigation into Mayor Henyard and invited everyone from the state's attorney to the FBI to come to Dolton and open the books. Well, trustees got their wish when we broke the news that FBI agents were in fact interviewing witnesses as part of a federal investigation. And then entering the fray, another mayor who frequently found herself in the crosshairs, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot.
Is this made for TV? Is this a Hollywood script that we're following? Seriously, Lori Lightfoot. We've got Beetlejuice. Right? I mean, here's the thing about Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is going to come in and she's going to create some kind of transparency and really show what's going on better than Dane Placco. Okay. Why would they respond to a former federal prosecutor? Why would they respond to a former mayor? She has no credentials. She can't arrest anybody. She can't do any of that. She can just get in there and analyze because she's a famous ex whatever, charging $400 an hour. I mean, the whole thing is, from both sides has become just this drama that is never ending. And it's mind blowing. All right, we're going to bring in a former mayor. We're going to bring in Lori Lightfoot, who's been in a lot of hot water herself. And she's going to do an investigation on a rogue mayor / trustee. That's what we're doing. Nobody will believe that. I can't go that way. Nobody's going to believe that. That's ridiculous. And it's reality.
Commit to you that I will follow the facts where they lead without bias. At the conclusion of this investigation, I will provide an assessment of the findings and the recommendations. And I welcome and urge the full cooperation by Mayor Henyard, her staff, all village trustees, vendors, and others.
This board specifically has made...
So what if they don't cooperate? What's she going to do? I used to be mayor. You got to give that to me. She's got zero authority. She's got zero ability to drop the hammer. She's got nothing other than a, famous name, which in Beetlejuice, it's not good, right? It's not good.
It reaches to the state's attorney, attorney general, governor's office. And as we know, there are ongoing, it's been reported that there's ongoing investigations from federal entities. Those entities, as we know, can take anywhere from 2 months to 5 years. We feel this option will give us an independent process.
Overall, it tells me that the investigation is expanding. It's not just focusing on the city of Dolton.
Former FBI agent Ross Rice says the subpoenas revealed the burgeoning scope of the federal criminal investigation into Thornton Township Supervisor and Dolton Mayor Tiffany Henyard. One subpoena focuses entirely on Henyard, including 2 businesses she owns, a restaurant and a property management company, as well as Henyard's political fund and the charity bearing her name. It asks for all records, including personnel files, wage and tax statements, time and attendance, records of work performed, contracts, and checks written to cash.
The mayor and the township supervisor, who are one and the same, appear to be the primary focus of the investigation.
The second subpoena requests a kitchen sink of township records, including financial reports, budgets, payroll records, and ordinances covering credit card purchases, expense reimbursements, security details, and the use of vehicles. The subpoena also asks for payments and credit card expenditures for a number of township employees, including Henyard's top lieutenant, Keith Freeman.
It's very broad in the scope. It's very broad in the number of people and entities.
They're fishing. That is a fishing expedition on a big scale. But you got a lot of people involved, right? You've got numerous supervisors. You've got the mayor. You've got, Village of Dolton accusing of this thing. And you've got 2 entities, right? She's got political positions in 2 totally separate entities. And so they're trying to connect all the pieces and all the dots. A lot of people are making a big deal about how big the scope of the FBI is, of the investigation is. But why would they just go after a couple of people when there's so many targets and they've got the ability to get this information or, whatever they're going to get out of it and then whatever determinations. Now, it feels like it's rigged from the top, right? Doesn't it just feel that way? All right. What are they going to come up with on TIF? What are they going to come up with on Tahoe TIF? The Tahoe is another thing, is paid $53,000 in interest and fees to a subprime leasing company that wasn't really authorized to be in business. And the reason that she got the Tahoe, paid, $99,000, I think was the list price and, or the retail price. And she ends up paying like $156,000. It's because she bought it from a subprime lender who doesn't require board approval. So TIF was able to jam this expense down the township of Thornton, and they couldn't say anything. She just went in, yep, give me one of those. Give me one of those. And so that's why those interest rates was so high and the fees are so high on her vehicles that she leased, because she wasn't required to have any credit. She could just go in there and boom, I want that one. And for that privilege of being able to work around her board, it cost the taxpayers thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars.
They're asking for records on.
I was pleasantly surprised.
Stephanie Wiedemann is a former township employee turned whistleblower who's been helping the FBI in its investigation.
What do we want? Our township back!
Over the weekend, she took part in a rally of Thornton Township residents calling on Henyard to resign. Wiedemann says the latest subpoenas are a welcome sign.
I hope that the township found a way to be able to recoup the damage that has been done. But I hope that the people that did the damage, there's repercussions for making bad decisions.
It'll take some time for investigators to untangle the mess in Dolton.
You would think so, but man, I am not sure. How's this going to go? How is this whole thing going to go? It's going to be wild. Most of the time, I love the Dane Placco, the music in the background. He's like, what is going on? What is happening here? What is going to happen in this next segment? And those segments are so quick. And he's got actual data on every single one of those storylines, right? And then take each one of those storylines. And then there's another, couple coming off of each of those. And you're like, what's going on? Most of the time we find these stories after it's happened, after somebody's already in jail, after somebody's already been arrested, right? It's like, look what they did. This one is ongoing. So what's going to happen tomorrow at the board meeting. They got to have that board meeting because they got to jam that in before the end of May, right? Tomorrow's last day in May, and they moved it from Tuesday. I bet you that she had that planned all along, because the last few board meetings, they have either started way late or they haven't happened. And Tiffany Henyard, has been missing at 25 meetings. 25 meetings. She's a no-show because she doesn't want to show up and just get her, absolutely ripped open. Because that's what's happening from her own constituents. They are so upset because of this lack of transparency. She hides everything and just spends all kinds of money. I mean, what would Nino Brown do, right? What would Nino Brown do? So I can't promise anything for tomorrow, but it could be exciting. If we have an actual meeting tomorrow, which I have no doubt that there's a high probability we will, what's it going to look like? What's going to happen? Because as this is going on, the FBI is doing its little probe at the same time. But like we said, that could be a couple of months. That could be years. So is it, is the FBI probe just, they're already checking it out. I mean, and it doesn't appear that she's backing off with any of her, ways and means of just basic thuggery and Nino Brown styled, from the top down, absolutely hammering on people. That is ongoing. There's been numerous, journalists. By that, I mean YouTubers that have gone to Dolton, that have gone to Thornton, and some of their videos, you're like, they're usually younger kids, and they've got a chip on their shoulder, and they're looking to kind of insert themselves into the story, into the narrative. A lot of videos out there that you can check out. But what you learn from that is just how heavy-handed the police officers are that are on the payroll, right? She has literally got these police officers wrapped up, she on her pinky. That's the pointer. That's the pointer finger. That's the pinky, right? And so it's just absolutely mind-blowing when you consider, all right, she's paying for this and she's putting stuff on credit cards. She's got a stipend for all of this. She's a political figure. She's got an allowance of a couple $100 a day for her and her crew to eat out, right? All the time. Well, what happens? Now she pockets that money, and then she just uses the credit card. And if she doesn't have any room on the credit card in Dolton, she uses the credit card from Township Thornton. Yeah. And it's ongoing, and it's just continuous. And you're like, well, that's not going to work out. Well, that's not going to work out. That's not going to work out. And she just keeps doing it. That's why I'm kind of thinking, how high up is she protected? You know what I mean? When you see somebody that's just this outrageous, or is she just absolutely pushing the envelope and she's, F around and find out? Well, let's just see what happens. Well, Tiff, maybe you need to go to jail. I don't know. We're going to check it out tomorrow. I am hoping we'll figure out a live stream. We'll figure out who's live streaming we're going to take a peek at. But I'm thinking it's the Lansing Journal, because they have a great feed. And so that's tomorrow, 11 o'clock my time. If you're in Chicago, that time zone, or Midwest, whatever that is, 1 o'clock. But I would check in, because there's a high probability tomorrow's live stream doesn't start on time. Like any good Guns N' Roses show from the 90s, Axl's not showing up. He might be there 2 hours late. Tiffany, she's typically about an hour late. So check in tomorrow. I'm going to wrap up on this one. Thank you so much for being here on this live stream. And I'll see you tomorrow. I hope to see you then. Friday. Are you working, or are you going to the township meeting? I'll see you there. Thanks again for being here.